Your Excellencies, District Governor, Engineer Mazen Al Umran, past district governors, presidents and past presidents, fellow Rotarians, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa as'ad Allahu awqatakum bi kulli khair. Good day to all of you. It gives me great pleasure to be with you in this important Rotary gathering, and I like to extend my welcome to all the Rotarians and participants from the different countries of the District 2452 who are joining us in this conference. Also, I like to thank His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Bahrain for extending his patronage to this event, and the District Governor and Chairman and members of the organizing committee who managed, despite all the restrictions imposed by the pandemic COVID-19, to arrange this successful virtual conference here in Bahrain. I also like to take this opportunity to commend the efforts of Rotary International in fighting COVID-19 by supporting the vaccination campaigns through advocating their fair distribution and combating the misinformation about vaccines. One of the main objectives of Rotary is to contribute to the well-being of mankind, reducing the emissions which causes pollution to the environment and affect adversely the health of human beings has become now the primary concern of all countries, particularly now that COVID-19 pandemic has increased the pressure and focus on climate emissions. There are many ways to reduce the emissions. One of the key ways to tackle this worldwide concern is to resort to the increased use of clean energy that does not harm the environment. Kingdom of Bahrain has taken major strides in this regard. That is why His Majesty the King issued a royal decree in October 2019 establishing the Sustainable Energy Authority C. This is the first time in Bahrain that a dedicated independent authority is established for renewable energy and energy efficiency, reporting directly to the cabinet. His Majesty also issued another decree appointing me as the president of the authority, with my ministerial rank reporting directly to the cabinet. I consider this a great honor. After 19 years service in different ministerial posts, because I have a personal passion for protecting the environment, and the subject of sustainability is very close to my heart. And because I believe that we can create a brighter and healthier future for everybody by advocating clean energy. I also firmly believe that we have moral obligations to do everything we can to make sure we leave behind us a clean and healthy environment for the future generations to come. This is very much in line with your Rotary motto, which says, Rotary opens opportunities for a better tomorrow. Today, I like to share with you what Kingdom of Bahrain has achieved in its pursuit of clean, renewable, and sustainable energy, despite the many initial challenges that had to be overcome. For those Rotarians who are not familiar with the term sustainable energy, I like to explain that there are different types of energy. There is fossil fuel energy, which in our region is made up of oil and gas. Then there is what is called alternative energy. This is alternative to fossil fuel energy. The alternative energy in turn is divided into two parts. The first one is renewable energy like solar and wind, because sun and the wind always renew themselves and they stay forever. Renewable energy is also clean and sustainable. The other type of alternative energy is nuclear energy, which is clean, but it is not renewable or sustainable. Today, I want to talk to you about sustainable energy. For this purpose, I have prepared few slides that I like to share with you, and I hope you bear with me in the next 20 minutes. The first thing which I like to highlight is our logo. As you can see it on the screen, is made up of two colors, blue and orange. Blue is electricity generated from fossil fuel. In the case of Bahrain, is 100% natural gas. Orange is electricity generated from clean or renewable energy. In the past, the whole square was blue. In the future, it will be a mixture of blue and orange, and the share of orange will increase. That means the share of renewable will increase in the future. We started by suggesting national targets for renewable energy and energy efficiency, and we presented this to the Cabinet of Bahrain. And the Cabinet approved the national targets in January 2017. The targets approved were improvement in efficiency by 6% by 2025. And renewable target was to reach 5% by 2025, which is equivalent to 250 megawatts. And then it will be increased to 10% by 2035, which is equivalent to 710 megawatts. In order, because the Cabinet approved the plans, and in order to make sure we achieve these targets, we prepared two plans, strategic plans. These were prepared by the experts of SEA, meeting with all the ministries and authorities in Bahrain to see what they are working on, what the projects they have in the field of renewable and efficiency. Collected all that information, we added to that the expertise that we got from United Nations Development, who are our partners, and we asked for applying best management practices. From all this, they prepared two national action plans. One of them is called National Renewable Action Plan, and one of them is called National Energy Efficiency Action Plan. These two plans are printed in hard copy and they are available on the website of SEA. And basically each one is about 70 pages. They contain the policies and projects that we have to implement to make sure we achieve the targets. We made sure these plans are approved by the cabinet to make them national plans and not SEA plans, because all the ministries were working in isolation before. Now we want to have a national strategy and national targets. The cabinet, to ensure also we implement the plans which we presented to them, established a national committee to follow up the implementation of the NEAP and REAP. It's called IFC, Implementation Follow-Up Committee. It is chaired by the President of the Sustainable Energy Authority and has members from the main stakeholders, like from the Prime Minister's Office, the Sustainable Energy Authority, the Electricity and Water Authority, the Ministry of Oil, Transport, Housing, Finance, Environment, Industry, Works, municipalities, and the Economic Development Board. I chair this meeting, and we meet once every 2 months, and we have the plans, the national plans in front of us, and we make sure they are implemented. The ministries whom you see in this picture, this is a picture from one of the meetings, which is held once every 2 months. The people in this picture represent the ministries which are here on the left side. And each ministry is then going to action certain part of that national plan. Because of this well-organized setup, we managed to achieve a lot in a short time in Bahrain. I'd like to share with you now what is in the National Renewable Action Plan. I'm summarizing the 70 pages into 1 page for this purpose. The National Renewable Plan, as I said, has a target of 5% by 2025, which is 250 megawatts. It has 3 policies. One of them is called net metering. Net metering means that individuals or consumers can install renewable like solar on their premises, either on their houses or on their businesses, and generate clean energy. That clean energy, they can use it for their own consumption. And if they have surplus from that clean energy, they pass it to the Electricity and Water Authority, the government Electricity and Water Authority, and they get a credit in their invoice, electricity invoice. Now, this is a major change in Bahrain, because before we implemented the net metering by 1st of January 2018. Before that, the law of 1996 of Electricity and Water Law applied, which means that only the government can produce and sell electricity. We asked for an amendment to the law, which the cabinet approved, which makes it possible for individuals and consumers to produce their own electricity from renewable. Policy number 2 is to use the government rooftop buildings, because Bahrain has limited size of land. We have 535 government-owned buildings like schools, hospitals, ministries, headquarters, etc. And we surveyed these rooftops, and we can generate 50 megawatt of clean energy. Policy number 3 is renewable energy mandate for new building, that in future it is mandatory to include a percentage of renewable in the new buildings and projects. The projects, there are 7 projects in the National Action Plan which we have to implement. One of them is solar system for government buildings. This is the one which I said generate 50 megawatt. We have started implementing this and I'll show you the result. Number 2, solar systems for new town development. Here in Bahrain, His Majesty the King decreed that 40,000 new houses should be built for the needy citizens of Bahrain. And the Ministry of Housing are building these new towns. We agreed with the Ministry of Housing to allocate 1,200 of the new houses with provision for solar installation, and that in future, all the street lights of the new towns will be solar. Number 3, waste to energy. We have in Bahrain 1.8 million tons of waste each year. 55% of that can be converted to energy, and that will generate 50 megawatts. Number 4, industrial renewable energy initiatives. All the major oil and aluminium and chemical and petrochemical and all these companies, we are working with them to install solar. Number 5, onshore, offshore wind farm. For the first time, we have now a wind atlas in Bahrain, which shows where is enough wind prevalent to install solar turbines, wind turbines. Number 6, large-scale solar farm on available land. Here, the government gave us a land which is 2 square kilometers. It's a landfill, and we tendered it out, and the private consortium won it, and they will be building a 100 megawatt solar farm and feed the production into the government grid at a rate which is less than the government rate. Number 7, renewables in infrastructure. We have bridges now for the first time, one bridge in Bahrain between the capital and the airport. This bridge, we have designed the solar for it with and in cooperation with the Ministry of Works. And when it will be built next year, it will be sort of the first bridge with solar installation. Also, we have a new causeway linking Saudi Arabia to Bahrain. It's called King Hamad Causeway. It's 25 kilometers, and we plan to install renewable on it. And we are talking to the airport. We have a new airport in Bahrain, and we are talking to them to make use of solar and wind turbines. These 7 projects, if we do all of them, we will achieve our 5%, which is 250 megawatt. And I'm glad to report that we have achieved more than, or got approval for more than 70% of these projects. We received lots of requests from many companies to participate. That was the Renewable Action Plan. Now we come to the Efficiency Action Plan. We have 22 initiatives in this action plan, and the target is 6 to achieve improvement in target or reduction in consumption by 6% by 2025. These 22 initiatives are highlighted for you on the screen. For example, we have changed the specification for air conditioning, for lighting. We have prepared green building code. We are preparing a strategy for electric vehicles. We will be using energy auditors, ISCO companies, and all the purchases in future will be environment friendly. And also we are only using smart meters now, and we have changed the tariffs in Bahrain. All these are part of these 22 initiatives. And for each one of these 22 initiatives, SEA has calculated how much saving they make in energy and what is the cost that will be saved. So according to our calculations, on a conservative basis, we will save the government $600 million a year net after deduction of the investment. This action plan, of course, has a major impact on the total electricity consumption in Bahrain. And to illustrate that, I'll show you the actual peak load in total peak load in Bahrain. The actual is in green and the forecast, which is in orange. The actual, for example, in August 2017, peak was 3,527 megawatt. And the forecast added 6% because of increase in population and new buildings. So we were projecting 3,786 for 2018, but actual came down, came to 3,437, which is less than the actual of 2017 and less than the forecast. Next year, the same, it came down further and it is less than the forecast and less than the 2017. What this means is that if we look just 2017 to 2019, in 2 years, despite all these new towns and new developments and increase in population, electricity total consumption has not gone up, it has come down. In 2020, a slight increase because of COVID and people using Zoom and Team and so on, using the internet from their homes, but still is much less than the forecast. So it means our plan is working. This, to show you an example of how renewable can reduce the cost of electricity for the businesses and for the individuals. We agreed with Ministry of Education to give us the rooftop of 8 schools to install solar on them, and basis boom, in other ways, the developers, the bidders will finance, build, operate, and maintain the solar system for 20 years on the rooftop of the school, and in return for a tariff. And we made it conditional that the tariff that the bidder puts must be less than government tariff. The government tariff currently for the schools in our currency is 29 fils per kilowatt hour. Let's see what we got from the developer. So one of them said 21.752 fils instead of 29. The other one 19, the other one 23. So when you compare it with 29, there is a saving of around 30% in the electricity cost for the school and the ministry without them incurring any operating or investment costs. And all the documentation, like the terms of reference, power purchase agreement, and negotiation with the contractors was done by Sustainable Energy Authority. Because of this success in reduction of the cost, His Excellency, the Minister of Education now have given us 20 more schools to do. And we have now 24 ministries and authorities have asked us to help them put solar on their rooftop. The last one, number 24, is Bahrain International Circuit. This is Formula One. The tender has been gone out, and so far we have 35 companies which have expressed interest to do this on boom basis. In other words, they will finance, build, operate, and maintain for 20 years in return for a tariff which is less than government tariff. So that shows that renewable energy can reduce the cost of electricity to the people. Now we come, how can renewable energy reduce the cost of water production as well? We have a company called Pavilion Water. They are doing a pilot study for us using wind turbines in the picture is to show you the size of the wind turbine. The black turbine you see is, as you can see, it's not as high as the usual wind turbine in Europe. This is an invention of the company itself, and they manufacture it in Bahrain. And they have just completed the pilot projects, desalinating seawater to class 4, which is potable water, in accordance with World Health Organization specifications and Electricity and Water Authority specifications. But the cost of production is 50% less than the government cost of production. This is the wind atlas that I mentioned to you. Of course, this is the total territorial waters of Bahrain, including Bahrain map in the lower bottom part of this slide. And you can see the territorial waters is 4 times the size of the land mass of Bahrain. So that means we have more opportunity to put floating solars and wind turbines. We conducted 6 training sessions. We brought consultants to train individuals in becoming professional qualified solar installers. So far, we have trained 314 people free of charge. And out of this, 264 passed the practical and written exams. And they have now been qualified. And some of them have started opening their own business and recruiting people, so it creates jobs as well. Now we started from 0. Now we have 264, and our next training session will be online. Here in Bahrain, the first solar factory, panel factory, was opened in January 2017, and recently we opened the second factory which we laid the foundation of it in February 2020. And this is larger than the first factory. So it means there is more demand now for solar panels. This is what has been approved so far in the way of projects. In total, 195 out of the 250 in a period of 3 years. We have 4 more years. So the 195 is about 78%. So we have got only 22% to do in the next 4 years. This slide shows you that the cost of solar PV for large projects has come down by 82% in the last 6 years, from January 2015 to April 2020. In January 2015, Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum project solar farm, the cost per kilowatt hour in US cents was 5 cents 0.85. The last one you can see, which was in April 2020, Abu Dhabi Al Dhafra, the cost was 1 cent 0.035. That's 82%. And we are piloting now projects how to make use of the wasted heat in Bahrain. And we are studying use of green hydrogen, which is a clean fuel. And we are working on the national strategy for electric vehicles. And all the GCC countries now have national targets. So for example, green is a renewable energy target and blue is efficiency target. You can see Saudi Arabia now has got, for example, 58.7 gigawatt target by 2030 of clean energy. And Dubai hopes to have 75% by 2050. Now I come to the international global transformation in the energy. Bahrain is a member of International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA. And we attend the General Assembly. I represent the government of Bahrain and I can vote on behalf of the government in the General Assembly. But in the General Assembly, we learn what are the latest developments in the renewable arena. I'm summarizing it quickly for you. The total number of states who are members of IRENA has increased from 75 to 163 countries, with 20 countries waiting. Overwhelming companies, even oil companies and governments, they are talking about energy transition. And the investment in renewable reached 820 million by 2020, and IRENA expects it will increase to 2 trillion in the next 2 years only. 50% of power generation installed in 2020 was solar, exceeding all other generation technologies. And 60% of the global economy, which is made up of 24 countries, now have zero carbon emissions by 2050. China has, for the first time, made a zero carbon emission target by 2060. Now, this means it was only 5 countries before which had zero carbon emissions, but the numbers are increasing. Green hydrogen is the focus for the future. Europe has increased these zero carbon targets, and the bankers now ask if they give you a large loan that there should be a clause protecting the environment. These countries will ban gasoline and diesel in cars. Norway by 2025, Britain, Denmark, Ireland, Germany by 2030, and France by 2040. And more countries will join later. The USA, for the first time under the Biden regime, have established of 100% clean energy by 2035 in their electricity network. Saudi Arabia has announced it will achieve 50% renewable by 2030 using solar and wind. These 7 countries have 100% target. Iceland is already 100%, Paraguay 100%, Costa Rica 100%. Norway is a fossil fuel country. They actually produce 2,200,000 barrels of crude a day, and they have large gas reserve, but still they are going clean energy. And the reinsurance company, one of the largest, called Allianz, they announced they will not reinsure fossil-based assets by 2050. Norway has one of the largest sovereign funds, their pension fund, $1 trillion in March 2019. They diverted from fossil fuel to renewable energy. And this chart from IRENA shows the blue is additional new electricity generating capacity. Blue is from fossil fuel, which is oil and gas and coal in their case, whilst orange is the clean energy. Up to 2015, there were more investment in sort of fossil fuel. Now, renewable. All orange is more than blue. Thank you for your time and your attention, and I wish you a very successful and beneficial conference. Thank you.